My name is Chrishan Wright. I am the founder of Blaxit Global. We also have a podcast of the same name, and Blaxit Global exists to empower and inspire members of the African diaspora to pursue a life abroad. I am a mom of two, which is something that I'm most proud of. But aside from that, professionally, my career has been anything but linear. I started my career actually in politics, and I spent about 10 years working in government. Part of that time, I worked in the New York State Assembly, shaping public policy related to health and human services. I segued from that into social work, which was really something I was passionate about as an extension of health and human services work that I had done, not only during my time in the legislature, but that's how I put myself through school. I worked full-time and I went to school full-time, and I worked as a childcare worker, working with children with emotional needs. So from there, I made the pivot into television, and I was working for a CNN affiliate in Albany, New York. I did almost everything because we weren't union. So I did master control and audio, setting up the live shots. I directed the shows on the weekends, as well as served on air as talent as a traffic reporter. Then I made the move to New Jersey about 15 years ago now, and then kind of got the bug to go back into government, and I worked as a government relations director for a large major health insurer. And then 2008 happened, 2009, right? The whole bubble burst, and had to manage through that whole recession. I was still married at the time. Both myself and my husband were impacted, and it was just like everything was coming down. And I had to think, like, how do I reinvent myself? This is my opportunity to pivot. And one of the things that was interesting about the job that I had at the time was that even though I was government relations director, I had huge projects, building relationships with, I was in New York City, so very diverse community, building relationships with different communities, whether Asian American, African American, something that I could identify with, Latinas, Latino community. And so for me, it was an opportunity to put together skills that I had acquired related to marketing, building relationships, navigating the bureaucracy when it comes to getting permits and things like that. So I took a step back and I wanted to regroup. And I remember the day that I was laid off very clearly, because it was also the day that the plane landed on the Hudson. And that was a pivotal moment for me because, one, I realized that with myself and my husband at the time working in New York City and our children being here, that in New Jersey, I had to do something that was based in my home state. Like, I didn't want to have that pressure of, what if something happens in New York and I can't get back to my kids? And then I had to think about, what are the things that I'm more passionate about, more excited about? And for me, it was marketing. So I took a role at a company in New Jersey, which was great because it had me in my home state. And it was great because it was kind of similar to my time in television, where I had the opportunity to try different things. So they needed help with marketing. I created, marketing slicks for them, produced a video, did all of their sales materials. And so it was beyond the role that I was actually hired for. Subsequently, at the end of that time, I was more in a marketing role. Then unfortunately, fortunately, I was impacted. And then I took a step back yet again, and I said, my heart is in marketing. Although I'm not classically trained as a marketer, my master's is in social work, my bachelor's is in English, but I knew what I was good at. So I took the opportunity to go to Rutgers through their digital marketing program, which was fabulous. And I obtained a mini MBA in digital marketing because I knew the future was in digital. And then from there, I built my relationship and my reputation. I started making relationships with people in the community, and then, taking on minor clients and just kind of building my profile from there, and then subsequently was hired to work as a digital marketing coordinator for a very large multinational company. And that was really where, things really took off. There were things along the way, awards and things like that I was recognized for, which is all great. I will accept the flowers, but it really was a lot of hard work, listening to my gut and paying attention to the room around me, the room being like the big world. Blaxit Global is my passion. I don't want to call it a passion project because it's so much more. So rewind a few years ago, I wanted to start a podcast. Actually, I entered a contest, a New Jersey statewide contest, and I was one of the finalists. And my idea at the time was a podcast talking about women entrepreneurs. At the time, not many people heard about podcasts. Fast forward 7 years, everybody is more aware about podcasts, and the opportunity to have more ears was really out of the global pandemic. People's routines changed. They may have listened to podcasts while they were working out or on their way to work in the car, and now everyone's home with time on their hands, taking on different information, different sources of information, trying to build different skills. So that is really like what laid the foundation for seeing this as an opportunity. The impetus, however, is something very different. Maybe 20 years ago, I had this desire to move abroad. Circumstances, much like life, can sometimes create little roadblocks and challenges, but I never let go of that. And for me, a shift happened when I was finally able to live. One of my dreams is to go to New Zealand. I did that as a solo trip in 2017, and coming back from that trip really changed me. And it made me realize that my life was going to be a life that was abroad. But reality is I still have one child that is in school, and I needed to wait until she graduated. So it was like the back of my mind, creating milestones and a plan, not really sharing it with too many people, but that was the plan. So of course, we all know what happened in 2020. And I was feeling it. I was feeling the routine shift and things like that, which that part wasn't really difficult for me because I am an introvert, believe it or not, by nature. But the part that wasn't something that I anticipated was the racial unrest, the civil unrest, and the fallout and the heaviness of all of that. And so I started to feel, very closed in, closed off, very suspicious of the people around me, not only in the broader community, worldwide, but in the US, but then also within my peer circle. There were difficult conversations and things that I had to question about my existence in the world and that of my children. And knowing that 2023 was my Blaxit, in 2020, 3 years felt like an eternity. I was excited as 2020 came in thinking, I'm at the halfway mark and doing all my goal setting for what I was going to do incrementally this year. And granted, those months didn't change, but it felt like 3 became 30. And I was getting depressed. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I was very irritable. And that was, I think, as a result of just the media replaying various incidences that we all know, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, finding out about Breonna Taylor. All of those things started to just compound. And I finally had a realization, especially after connecting with some of my former colleagues and realizing that I needed to redirect my energy. As a mom, as a single mom, as a woman who cares for an elderly parent who's in another state, I knew that if I lost me, then everyone loses. And so that was when I said, okay, I have to redirect this energy into something positive. So it's like, okay, Chrishan, what do you spend your time doing? Well, planning my Blaxit and looking at my finances to prepare for my Blaxit. So it was either going to be a podcast about how to get your money right, or it was going to be how to get out of America or wherever you are in the world. So for me, while we are members of the diaspora, I firmly believe in my heart that as members of the diaspora, our spores are all over this world. And so there's no place that we can't inhabit. So I didn't want to just limit it to Blacks that are living in America that want to get out of America. There are people that live in Canada, that have made their Blaxit in the UK. And so that's where Blaxit Global came to be, and thinking more broadly, wherever you are in the world, if you choose to leave. And for some people, it is in response to political, civil unrest. And for some reason, it's a personal choice. I mean, it's always a personal choice, but your motivations might be different. But to give people an opportunity to be inspired and empowered by listening to stories of people like them. It's like when you look up or you Google expats, you don't see people that look like us. And so it's giving the people that are doing it an opportunity to share their story. And for people like me who are sitting in the seat that are actively planning, or even if you weren't actively planning, maybe you're inspired to think, what would it be? What if I were to be in a situation where I'm not dealing every day with microaggressions? I'm not dealing every day with the fear that it comes with, interactions with the police and things like that. So I find that now having this community of thousands of people that are around the world, my circle has grown exponentially, especially in a time where we are social distancing and keeping apart. Fast forward almost a year later, I feel more connected to people than when I did, a year ago. The biggest thing is being able to live a life that is with intention, that is without these societal constructs that are always kind of at play. And America has a vice grip on racism and embracing that. And the insidious nature of it is that, I think we talked about it, just kind of hinted at it, is it seeps in your mind even when nothing is directly impacting you in your face. You start to second guess. Did that happen? Oh my God, what if this happens to me? That's, racism is a trap that everyone falls into. And in my opinion, one of the reasons, and it still has been for 20 years, the reason why I want to leave America is because I see, particularly because the gift of me not having a linear career and working in different systems and being in influential positions within those systems, that the system is broken if you look at it from a person who is a minority. If you look at it on the flip side, it is operating as it was designed. It's designed to ensure that there is a hierarchy, that there are those who benefit greatly from it and those who, can try to live the American dream and do all those things. And it still doesn't create the same opportunities in reality. And with the global pandemic, I think it also exposed America's failings in that we hold on to this slogan, greatest country in the world, greatest health care system, education, but yet all of the disparities and all the ills are laid out for the world to see. Whether we're talking police brutality, whether we're talking children who are working and going to school in different, working, environments, whether they're doing a hybrid learning or in person, there's access to technology. There's, or lack of access to technology. There's lack of access to, important medical devices and just things that we need day to day. We saw food scarcity is very real. So there are so many things when you look at it in its entirety that, especially now with this platform, being able to compare when I have conversations with people like us that are living in different parts of the world, and their realities are completely different. Their government is giving them money every month to offset the challenges, or, food budgets, or, technological help and support, or, you've had a baby and they're, providing, a nurse to come in the home for whatever, or clean. Just things that when you have lived and grown up in the US, that it's like, say what now? And I think, there's this level of propaganda that happens in keeping certain systems in place to ensure, and, buzzwords that, make you think that, oh, this is an other. We don't want this. We don't want socialism. This is that. When most people don't even know what that means, one. And two, it is, again, this pandemic, and I always look at the long term as it relates to, the United States and this next generation of learners. They're going to be challenged, because I've talked to people who have left the US, who have school-age children and moved to different countries, and have seen the huge difference in the educational curriculum that their child had in New Jersey, great school district, compared to what they have in another country where they're getting music education, where they're getting art history and things like that. And not like the fluff art history, like real rigors. I compare that to my own education growing up in the Bronx. I played at Carnegie Hall when I was 12 years old. We had a full orchestra in our school. When my kids went to school, or one that is in school and one is graduated, they had the recorder. They don't know how to read music. I knew how to read music. I knew how to type. I knew how to write my name in cursive. Like, they're just basic things. And I think about these things, and not to go on a tangent, but, when people talk about, our founding fathers and the, Continental Congress and all of these things, those documents are written in script. So if you're educating children who don't even know how to read cursive, they're not even going to be able to understand their rights. And that's the problem. We have become passive participants in our political process. And it's only when the water gets almost to boiling hot, which was what we dealt with the last administration, which not all of that was that person's failings. They took an opportunity and rode what was already there, what was already being ignored when we were sounding the alarm for years and years and years. And you can't expect a new administration to be perfect or to solve all of your problems. We have to stay engaged at the local level all the way to the federal level. And so that's where I hope that people take this opportunity to not be complacent anymore, to be actively engaged, active participants. And that doesn't even end when you leave, because there were and there are many groups for communities that are abroad that did, go to vote campaigns to make sure that they stayed engaged. It's not I'm leaving, I'm done, bye, you guys. You have family members here. You may have friends that are still here. You are still a citizen unless you renounce. We have to be global citizens. And that's something that I think as a society, regardless of where you sit in the color spectrum, that we have an opportunity to think outside the confines of the United States and to think about what it means for us on a global stage, because only then will we make true progress. Life is about reinvention. And I've learned that. I've lived it firsthand. I didn't go into anything thinking, I'm going to do this and I'm going to that. I don't think I had that level of awareness and intentionality when I go to my career as it started 20 plus years ago. And even now, as I look to the road ahead, one of the things that I'm challenged with is, what is that? I can't even say 2.0. I don't even know what version of me I'm up to at this point. But when I look at the road ahead, I realize that in some respects, in a lot of countries, I'm too old to go in on a work visa and too young for a retirement visa. And so what does that mean in terms of my reinvention? And one of the things that I realize and I want to hold on to and I want to encourage other people is to lean into what's uncomfortable. Lean into what's uncomfortable and have a curious mind. If nothing else that this journey has taught me is that I've been steered by following not only my internal compass, that internal GPS, but just being a curious learner, either from people, matched with, different things that I've learned, read in a book, taken a course. Take those data sets, put them all together, and start to, do a skeleton of a plan. And when you do that, and when you follow that gut feeling, you'll go in the right direction. Is it scary? Heck yeah. Do I always feel like I'm confident 100% of the time? No. But I lean into it. I try. Not all the things that I've done, I've been successful at, but I've learned more from my failures than I have my successes. I actually barely mentioned the things that I've gotten awards for, not because I'm not grateful for the recognition. I am, most definitely. But those are the things that people don't see. The scrapes, the times when you don't want to get out of bed, the times that you're fearful of what things are going to cost if I enroll in this program, or, take time away from my kids, or whatever the case may be, whatever your life looks like right now. You do have control. Every day that you're awake and you are living, you have 24 hours. Everyone has the same. The only difference is, how are you going to spend your 24? And that is the challenge. You have nothing but unlimited opportunity to do and live the life that you want.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content.